I think one of my favorite quotes of all time, you can sometimes fool the fans, but you can't fool the players. And I interpret that to be, I can tour you through our facility and you say, boy, this is nice and it's clean and it's sexy. But I can't fool my shareholder, whether I make money. I can't fool my employees who know if it's safe, if they're paid well, if they're trained. And we can't fool our customers. They know whether the bus is operating or they're performing. And it's just a way of guide, myself and I think they'll guide our team about how do we operate this business. I grew up in Brantford, Ontario, home of Wayne Gretzky, and my father was in the farm equipment business, so we lived there. We lived in Minnesota for a while, then came back to Brantford. I moved to Winnipeg going into grade 11, so I was 15. 6 kids, a dog, my parents, and a brand new lease on life in a place we really knew nothing about, Manitoba. I had the benefit of watching, my father grow up in an organization from a sales role all the way to become the CEO of a business. He was a really humble guy. He had a couple of views on life. One of my kind of favorite quotes that I try and use a lot, either in a business setting or a personal setting, that at the end of the day, you got to give back more than you take. And I really admired the guy. If you came to my office over at MCI, you'd picture of a dashboard of a car. And what he always used to say to me is, you got to keep your eyes on the metrics and the data and so forth. But that can't run the business. You got to look out the windshield to know where you're going. You got to use your mirrors to know where you've come from. And you got to use your side wind, to know what the competitive marketplace is like. And so that's absolutely perfect of the way he, tried to help me learn how to run a business. NFI is a special business. First and foremost, we build buses, right? We move people. We're moving the world's most precious cargo. And so things like shortcuts or focus to safety and all those things, they're not optionals. They're absolutely fundamental to what we do. We had this vision that what if we could build Canadian vehicles 100% here in Winnipeg? And so here's a magnificent example of collaboration. It goes back a little bit to a quote or a story that I heard, and it's fairly well promoted around John F. Kennedy. He's at the Space Center in Cape Canaveral and sees a guy over there sweeping up the floor, and he goes over to him and says, so what do you do? And the guy says, I'm helping putting somebody on the moon. And so I think a little bit about that in our environment, right? I want all 9,300 people saying, I'm here to build something to move the world's most precious cargo. And oh, by the way, I can actually help the environment. So our call to action, why we exist, it's real, and it applies to every single one of us. And so everything from a diesel bus to a hybrid electric, to a natural gas, to a battery electric, or to a fuel cell electric buses is built by Canadians for Canadians. I've had the benefit, like many people in this program, that have traveled the world. And when you come home and you realize how hard people work, how collaborative we work, how caring we are, the philanthropy in this province, and anybody could write a check. It's not just the check, it's people getting involved to help make this a better place for now, but also for our future. And because of our geography, we have this awesome opportunity. And then we have a culture of can-do and the ability to compete globally. I'm a huge Manitoba fan. So to be added to a list of Hall of Fame inductees over the years, that is a pretty profound list of very, very special business people, but also human beings. It's humbling to be part of that kind of roster. And I'm really, really grateful, for what the business opportunities they've given to me, what the community opportunities. There's no question that I feel proud personally, but I think it's also a reflection of the teams that I've been on and the quality of the people that I've worked with, right? And so, a bunch of us get to celebrate this together.